Hey guys, I just completed this car, the bushings, the subframe bushings, rear trailing arm bushings, lower control arm bushings. And I did it all with a simple tool. I didn't have to modify, I didn't have to create any tool, and I didn't have to burn any of the old bushings out. So let's take a look at what I just did. As you can see, it's got Ireland Engineering subframe bushings here. The trailing arm bushings, I did Fender OEM bushings. And then the front control arm bushings, I did Powerflex purples. Oh, and then I also, while I was in here, I noticed the inner boot was torn. So I swapped it out and I put a new boot on the inside. I used GKN Rebuild Kit. I watched just about every video and I did a bunch of research on the forums, and it seems like the most common method of pulling that out is by burning it out. But I did it with a simple tool that's available. It's not too expensive. And I actually used one tool to get both, actually all three, the subframe, the trailing arm, and the front lower control arm bushing. I used one tool to get them all out. Actually, I used a couple other tools, but in the end, I only needed one tool, and I'll show you which tool I used. Also, I know it's quite a daunting job. There have been people who did the subframe bushings while it's still in the car, and I've seen other people just drop the whole entire subframe, and that seemed like a bit of a beast to handle, but I also needed to do the trailing arm bushings. So I was wondering if it's even possible to do that while it's in the car. So I took it step by step, and I was taking a look to see if I can get access to the bolts, and turns out I was able to do it as a one-man job. Just a quick run through. First step I did was remove the exhaust, disconnected right in the middle there. And then next, I removed 4 of the washer nuts from the heat shield right there, just so it can bend down. I didn't have to disconnect the drive shaft. Currently, the car is up on 4 jack stands, but I only needed 1 jack to do this whole thing. Okay, so then once the exhaust was gone, the next step was to remove the trailing arm with this whole thing as one unit. So I didn't have to break the brake lines. I just took the caliper off, hung it up on this exhaust hanger, and I'd left the brake line intact. I didn't have to re-bleed it or anything. Also, the e-brake cable, this long cable right here, I didn't have to detach that. I see some people on YouTube, they take off the rotor and then disconnect it from inside here. Other people I've seen disconnect it from inside the cabin and pull the entire thing out. I just left it as is. I found that the e-brake cable has enough slack where once I removed this whole trailing arm and this brake assembly down, I just rotated it and there was enough slack for that cable to hit the ground. So to disconnect the trailing arms, I disconnected the 2 bolts there using a wobble extension. And I'll show it here. Get a 3-piece wobble extension impact. I got mine from, I think, Harbor Freight for very cheap. And that thing has been worth its weight in gold. I actually used that wobble extension to remove the transmission and change out my clutch, especially getting the top bolts of the bell housing. So with those extensions, you can actually get access to the bolt there and then also from the other way, inside going this way. So you remove the 2 nuts, remove this shock bolt right there, remove the caliper, hang it on the exhaust bracket. You disconnect the Swaybar at the trailing arm right there, the lower one. Rotate that link up so it's out of the way. And then this wheel speed sensor, you could leave it attached here. If you just pull this cylinder out, it disconnects. It's like a quick release plastic connector. So you can disconnect that. That side stays with the car. This side comes out with the trailing arm. And then this hose right here on the left side is the charcoal canister, and it's connected down here. And I tried to take it apart, but it's really hard to pull out. But it turns out if you go all the way up here, it only goes up to like about here, and it's just open. It's just an open hose. So, and I just pulled it down and I bent it at this joint right there, and then I was able to get the trailing arm out. Don't forget to catch the spring as the trailing arm lowers. Oh, and then also disconnect the axles right there. So if you use the e-brake to lock it up, you can actually access all 6 bolts without rotating it. So disconnect the axle from the inside right at the diff, and then it's ready to come out completely. I used a jack to completely lower it and pull it straight down, and then I just rotated it this way so I can work on the trailing arm bushings like right here. Then on the other side, you do the same thing. And the other side, actually, there's one more connector, one of these plastic connectors. There's 2 on the right side, and the other one is the brake pad wear sensor. And that kind of runs along here and it goes to the back. It goes through here into one of the brake pads. So that's on the right side. Also, the right side doesn't have that hose, this hose right there. So once you remove the 2 trailing arms, you can start disconnecting these bolts, the subframe bushing bolts. Also the rear diff ear bolt. right there. Then that disconnects the trailing arm, and the only thing that'll be connected at that point would be the drive shaft to the differential. And that you could leave connected, and you just basically leave a jack under the diff and support it there, and you kind of work your way out, wiggle this out. And the reason I like doing that is because if you're going to do the subframe bushings, you might as well do the trailing arm bushings. And also the other benefit is if you remove the 2 trailing arm bushings with this whole assembly here, it takes a lot of weight out of the entire unit. So when I see people dropping the entire thing, it's one thing to take it out, but trying to get it back in, especially as a one-man job, can be quite difficult. Trying to maneuver that heavy weight. So if you can disconnect it and split it into 3, it's a lot easier to maneuver the subframe with just the subframe without the trailing arms. So I only needed one person, one jack to do this whole job. So that's the whole thing in a nutshell, and now I'll show you how I did it. In some of the clips, I'll let it play out longer just to show you how much effort it takes, because I know a lot of videos, they tend to just say, okay, next disconnect the subframe bushing, and then all of a sudden it's already out, and you don't really see the struggle of how hard it can be. For example, the wheel well liner. That thing was kind of a pain to take out, but a lot of times it's not even talked about in the video. So some things I'll show you, and just so you can see how much of an effort it is to do some of these steps. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing I did was I jacked it up. Don't forget to put your wheel for safety. And then the next step, take the wheel off, obviously. You want to be careful when you're taking out the fender liner. There's this lip right here, and it hooks into there. So when you start pulling it out, it doesn't just easily fall out. Once you remove these screws, you just kind of have to work it out. But you want to be very careful, because I did kind of pull, and the metal bent out a little, like a little kink right here. And I noticed it actually started deforming the outside of it. So be very careful. I was able to kind of hammer it back in with a piece of cloth over this. I kind of hammered it back in, and it looks like it kind of got rid of that little kink, but you definitely want to be a little bit graceful with taking it out, or else you're going to ruin your fender. Try to take out this fender liner. Without bending. That clip came out. So you want to be careful not to bend this out. Man, I am fighting this thing. After removing that, the next thing I did was I removed the exhausts. So you're gonna have 4 bolts right there. I think the nut is 12 and the bolt itself is 13. It could be a little rusty, so use some blaster to kind of soak it in. So after you get that section undone, what you do next is it's attached by this rubber holder there and one right there. This is really tight, so basically you're just gonna have to take a short wrench, a 13mm I believe, and you just kind of have to slowly work it out. It's a fairly long thread, so it just kind of takes a while. Slow process. This one, you can, well, once the wheel is off, you can take a power drill and just remove that quickly. But it is fairly heavy. And then the only other connection point is this little hanger right here. There's a metal bracket that just hangs over it. Once the exhaust is out, you get a little bit more space, but to access the inner bolt, this is in the way. So what you do, undo this bolt right here, and this whole bracket comes off. As you can see here, the bracket is out. And then that gives you access to this inner bolt. Just a little bit more space. So then after the exhaust is out and that exhaust bracket hanger is out, the next thing I did was disconnected the end link for the stabilizer bar right here. I believe that's a 12 or a 13, I can't remember exactly. This right here is an aftermarket. I believe the stock one is just like a little tab right here with a hole in it. The previous owner had this welded in. I'm not a welder, so I don't know if those are good welds or not, but it works for now. So initially I ordered poly bushings. I decided just to get poly bushings all around. The subframe bushings I actually ordered a while back. I got the Ireland Engineering ones, the green ones. And then I got PowerFlex front lower control arm, the diff, and then I got the rear trailing arm bushings. However, after doing some more research, the consensus is get poly bushings for the subframe, get OEM for the RTABs, get OEM for the diff. So I ended up returning this one and the RTABs. I think the RTABs you could probably get away with poly. The main complaint I hear about the poly subframe bushings is it just gets squeaky after a while. I did get some marine blue grease, which is waterproof. Basically, it's grease that they use in the ocean vehicles, I guess, boats and whatnot. I guess it just kind of helps to stay in there to keep it greased up and not squeak over time. But in the interest of cost and the ride, a lot of people said just to go with OEM, which is fine. And I think that threaded rod tool that I put together through Home Depot, there's a video that I found, a guy with the E30 rebuild. I got the tool idea from him. I'll link that video down below. And I think that's just fine without worrying of burning out the bushings. And then also the axle. The nice thing about this axle is you can take it off with these hex bits. I just got this set from Amazon for about 10 bucks. I can link it down below. But yeah, this set worked nicely. I'm gonna disconnect the axle, zip tie it to probably this mount right here. Right. That hose right there is a charcoal canister that sits next to the gas tank. I thought it was a fuel line. You can just take it off, so it should be fine. Oh, this thing's heavy. There we go.